Today's eMoney tip of the week is on maximum retirement spending. So often when you're inside of eMoney and you're working with a client and you start looking at how the Monte Carlo is impacted by the decisions they make, and you start showing them what if your expenses went up 10%, what if your expenses went up 15%, and the impact of the Monte Carlo, you'll ultimately get this question: how much could I spend and it's stay in green, right? Not go to red. In other words, how much could I spend in cash flows to where my financial plan would not work anymore? Well, eMoney has a great way of solving that for you. So it's actually under reports, and we're going to go under, this is our sample client, Pam and Jim Helper. We're going to click here on reports. And what you're going to see when you go down to reports, you'll see favorites here, but I want you to go under all reports. You could favor this one or not have it favored. I want to show you how to get there. I happen to have this favored because I do like this report. And you'll see under retirement planning. Once you come under retirement planning, there's a sub report. There's a couple different ones of these. They're great. They're great to use in presentation mode, by the way, if you have a deliverable you're giving to a client. But I want you to see this one, maximum retirement spending. So I think this is just a great way to illustrate this to a client. You can click up here really quickly and put you want to have a certain amount of assets remaining, and you want to index it at a higher amount. So it allows you to even have a conversation during this. You can always do a quick web print to pull this off, and you can send this right to a client's vault after the conversation, which makes it pretty handy. But what you can see here with the client is you can see quickly they're spending $98,300 in today's dollars after retirement. The most that they can spend while still funding their retirement is $142,000 per year. So this is a great way to see this. It will also show you the effects on the portfolio. So we can see this effects on the portfolio if they were to do that maximum spending. And it also gives us that side-by-side cash flow report to see right down here. This is a great quick way to have this conversation with clients. I like to have it in Decision Center, and I like to have a button I can turn on to show you how that's going to impact it. So for example, we go with the client, we go to Decision Center. You can always click down on one of those scenarios, get there faster. I'm going to show you the long way. And I would go to alternatives. I would have the Monte Carlo up here, so I would go to Monte Carlo. I would go to Monte Carlo summary. I think it makes it easier for most clients. So I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, here's what your current base plan is. If we increase your spending, which by the way, in this particular client, this is a sample client, I have this at 15%, which is what we always do our default to on our team. So Mr. and Mrs. Client, if your retirement expenses increased by 15% to what you said they were, could you survive retirement? And you can see right now for this client, they could not survive retirement. So I think that's a much better way to have that conversation. But sometimes in the middle of the conversation, because I always feel like a client's really engaged, and one of the most powerful parts of eMoney, when you know how to use it well, is when you can answer a client's question about their plan right then and there. As they're thinking out loud, if they start saying, well, okay, 15% was 27%, what would 10% do? And you can click on here, by the way, in live, and you can go ahead and change that around inside of there. But the reality is, and by the way, I apologize, this one's actually up higher than 15% because this is a sample client I use for different trainings. So I actually had that one up a little bit higher than 15% than what I normally have. But you can go in there and change that live. What this allows you to do is answer that common question: what's the maximum amount that I could spend to not have that go into the red? It's a great report. It's a great tool to use for the right client. We hope this tip helped educate and empower you to do more plans for your clients so that you can impact more lives through financial planning. If you have some great tips we don't know about, we'd love to hear about them. If you have a better way of doing what we just showed you, we'd love to hear about that, because we are a noble profession, and together we can elevate the profession.